Irene Holt woke with a start, his heart pounding in his chest. The dream felt more real than any memory he had ever known. Smoke and fire swirled around him, metal twisted in impossible shapes, and in the middle of it all, a small alien child crouched behind him, trembling. Irene didn't know who the child was, or even what species it belonged to. Its skin shimmered with soft green light, and its large eyes looked at him with fear that pierced straight through his soul. He wanted to reach out, to protect the child, but something strange happened. 8 blades hovered around him. They were not ordinary weapons. Some glowed faintly, some seemed sharp enough to cut steel, and yet they floated freely in the air, circling Irene as if they were alive. He had no idea where they had come from, but instinctively he raised his hands and the blades responded. They moved in perfect sync with his thoughts, spinning, cutting, and defending. The enemies came at him in waves. They were tall, armored figures with weapons that hummed with energy. Irene had never seen anything like them. In the dream, he did not panic. He focused on protecting the child. Each strike from the blades deflected a blow, pushed an enemy back, or created a wall of light to shield them. Hours passed in moments. The battlefield shifted, burned, and collapsed around him. Still, the child remained safe. Irene did not understand how, but he felt a strange clarity. He did not fight for power. He fought because it was right, because no one else was there to protect the small, fragile life beside him. Then, in a sudden moment of silence, the last enemy fell. Irene stood still, the 8 blades hovering quietly around him. The child looked up and smiled faintly, and for the first time in the dream, Irene felt peace. And then he woke, but waking did not bring relief. Irene's eyes opened to a vast chamber, a stone floor stretching into shadowed walls. Around him, standing in precise formation, were elite alien warriors. 8 of them, at least 2 meters tall, with plated armor that shimmered with a dark blue sheen. Their weapons were aimed at him. He could feel the tension in the air like static electricity. Irene's hand went instinctively to his side, but there was nothing there. No blades, no gun, nothing, just himself. His heart raced. One of the alien warriors stepped forward. Its voice was deep, resonant, almost musical, and Irene felt it vibrate through the floor. "You are the human the prophecy spoke of," it said. "The 8-bound human, step forward if you are not afraid." Irene's mind spun. Prophecy, 8-bound. He shook his head. I think there is some mistake," he stammered. "I am just a security officer. I don't know what you are talking about." The warrior's helmeted head tilted slightly. "Mistake, perhaps. Or perhaps the dream you had was the truth calling you. You were chosen before you even knew it." Irene looked around. The other warriors were watching him, silent but alert. Their presence was not hostile in the traditional sense. They were testing him, judging him. And somehow, Irene knew that failing would not just be embarrassing, it could be dangerous. He remembered the child, the fear, the helplessness, the need to protect. His own pulse slowed. He could not explain why, but he felt a strange connection to the dream, the blades, the battlefield, the child. It felt like a memory, though he knew he had never seen it before. One of the warriors raised a hand. Suddenly the chamber shimmered and 8 luminous blades appeared around Irene. They were exactly as they had been in his dream, floating, moving, waiting. Irene stepped back instinctively. What are these?" he asked. "They are the manifestation of your intent," the first warrior said. "You do not know it yet, but your heart has the power to command them. You fight not for conquest, not for glory, but for those who cannot fight for themselves. That is why the system has chosen you." Irene's eyes widened. "Chosen me? Chosen for what?" "Your world is far from the only one in the galaxy that is in danger," another warrior spoke. "There are forces that would enslave, destroy, or consume. Only those who act without thought of reward, only those who fight for others, can awaken the power of the 8 blades. That is what you are seeing now." Irene looked down at the blades. They hovered calmly, almost alive. He could sense them responding to his thoughts. Slowly, almost reluctantly, he lifted a hand. One blade moved with him, circling his fingers, then another, and another. In moments, all 8 hovered around him, forming a protective circle. The warrior stepped back, watching him closely. "Now you understand the trial," said the first. "But a trial is not a victory. You must demonstrate that you can wield this power with clarity and purpose." Before Irene could respond, a sound echoed through the chamber. Not mechanical, not human, but something deeper, like the roar of a predator combined with the hiss of burning wind. The floor trembled. The warriors tensed. "It begins," said one. "The first test of your resolve." Suddenly, holographic enemies appeared around the room. They were identical to those in Irene's dream, armored, weaponed, and moving with intent to destroy. The 8 blades whirred to life. Irene's instincts took over. He did not fight with aggression. He moved to protect the center of the room, where a small platform shimmered with light. The platform felt alive, almost sacred. The blades followed his intent, spinning, deflecting, shielding. The holographic enemies struck in waves, faster than he could count. Each wave pushed him to think faster, move faster, act with precision. The blades obeyed him perfectly, not harming him, not harming the illusions, only moving to counter the threat. Irene realized something important. The blades were not meant to kill, they were meant to protect. To respond not to fear but to intention. And as long as his heart was focused on defending, they would follow him. Hours seemed to pass in moments. Sweat ran down Irene's face. His muscles ached. And yet he felt exhilaration he had never known. Every motion, every choice was amplified by the blades. Every instinct of protection became perfect, every reflex precise. At last, the final wave of holographic enemies fell. The chamber was silent. Irene lowered his hands and the blades dissipated into shimmering light. The warriors stepped forward. "You have passed the first stage," said the first warrior. "But do not be proud. This is only the beginning. The galaxy does not reward skill alone. It rewards intent, purpose, the heart that chooses to protect even when the outcome is uncertain." Irene swallowed hard. "And the child?" he asked. "The one in my dream?" The first warrior inclined its head slightly. "The child represents all those who cannot fight for themselves. If you fail, they will fall. If you succeed, they will live. You will understand the meaning soon enough." Irene's pulse quickened. He had faced simulated enemies, controlled by the elite warriors, and survived. But the real trial was still ahead. Something far larger, far more dangerous was coming. He looked at the warriors, at the empty chamber, and then down at his hands. He did not know if he would survive the real challenge, but one thing was clear. He would not hesitate to protect those who could not defend themselves. And somewhere deep in his mind, he felt the child's small hand, trembling, waiting for him to act. Irene Holt took a deep breath. Whatever came next, he would face it. For the child. For those who could not fight. And for the first time in his life, he felt truly awake. The part ends with Irene standing in the center of the chamber, facing the unknown, ready for the next stage of the trial, and ready to discover the true meaning of the 8 blades. Irene Holt felt the weight of the chamber pressing on him. The first trial had tested his instincts and his intent, but now he understood that the real challenge had only begun. Around him, the alien elite warriors were silent, watching, waiting for his next move. He could feel their judgment, sharp and unyielding but not cruel. They were testing something deeper, his heart. One of the warriors, taller and broader than the others, stepped forward. Its voice was calm but firm. "Human, your first display was impressive, but skill without understanding is worthless. You must learn why we fight and what protects this world beyond strength alone." Irene nodded slowly. He did not know what words to speak, but he felt a strange confidence. The dream had shown him a child hiding behind him, trembling, and the 8 blades responding to his thoughts. That clarity stayed with him. He understood now that fighting was not about defeating enemies. It was about protecting life. The warrior raised its hand and the chamber walls shifted. A holographic simulation expanded, forming a vast alien city under siege. Ships flew overhead, dropping strange bombs. Civilians ran in every direction. Buildings burned, twisted metal fell from the skies, and alien soldiers scrambled to respond. "This is your second trial," the warrior said. "You will navigate the chaos, find those in need, and defend them. But beware, the threats are real within this system. Mistakes may cost lives." Eren took a deep breath. He did not panic. Instead, he stepped forward. The 8 blades appeared again, responding instantly to his movements. They circled him, glowing faintly, waiting for command. He moved carefully through the holographic city. Civilians screamed as simulated fires spread. Eren's focus was not on attacking the attackers, but on protecting those who could not protect themselves. A child ran into his path, tripping over debris. He caught the child mid-fall, the blades forming a soft barrier around them. A group of enemies approached from above, flying drones with sharp energy cutters. The blades whirled, forming a shield that deflected the strikes. Eren did not aim to destroy. He only blocked, guided the drones away from the child, and moved forward. Hours in the simulation passed like minutes. Every corner of the city presented a new threat. Eren guided families to safety, deflected attacks, and even pulled trapped civilians from crumbling buildings. With each act of protection, the blades responded faster, moving more fluidly, almost as if learning from him. The elite warriors watched silently, their expressions unreadable. But Eren noticed small gestures: a nod, a tilt of the head, a hand briefly lowering a weapon. They were observing not just his skill but his intent. Suddenly, a new wave of enemies appeared. Unlike the previous drones and soldiers, these were larger, more powerful, with glowing red energy cores. They moved faster, stronger, and more intelligently. Eren's heart pounded, but he remained calm. The 8 blades responded instinctively. He directed one blade to shield a group of civilians trapped on a rooftop. Another blade disarmed a falling enemy drone before it could strike. 4 blades moved as a single unit, spinning and deflecting attacks, while 2 hovered close to him, ready to respond to his thoughts. One of the elite warriors stepped closer. "You are doing well," it said, "but skill alone will not save them. You must show leadership, inspire others, and act with decisiveness." Eren realized that the holographic simulation was not just about reflexes. It was about strategy and heart. He began to coordinate small groups of alien soldiers in the simulation, pointing them toward civilians in danger, guiding their movements, and showing them how to protect rather than destroy. The soldiers followed his lead. They were confused at first, but gradually they moved in sync with him. Eren did not feel pride, only a sense of purpose. The blades glowed brighter as he made each decision, as if acknowledging that his intent was true. Then suddenly, a massive threat appeared. A giant energy cannon hovering in the sky aimed directly at the center of the city. The chamber trembled as simulated shockwaves rippled through the streets. Buildings collapsed, debris flew, and the civilians panicked. Eren acted instinctively. He directed the blades to form a massive barrier around the civilians, their energy connecting in a shimmering dome of protection. He ran toward the cannon, dodging falling debris, guiding the alien soldiers to intercept incoming enemies. One of the elite warriors spoke, almost to himself. "The human leads not by force but by intent. This is rare." Eren reached the cannon. He realized he could not destroy it with the blades. They were for protection, not attack. Instead, he focused on redirecting its energy. One blade moved to intercept the blast, deflecting it upward into the sky. Another blade extended, creating a path for fleeing civilians. Each move was precise, protective, and intentional. The cannon fired again. The blades shimmered and absorbed the impact, guiding the energy away from the city. Eren felt the strain on his mind, on his focus. But he did not falter. The civilians were safe, the soldiers were organized, and the 8 blades moved as one with his will. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the simulation stabilized. The enemies disappeared. The city was safe. Civilians cheered, though silently, within the holographic projection. The elite warriors stepped forward, their faces showing respect, though Eren could not read their emotions fully. "You have passed the second stage," said the first warrior. "You demonstrate not only skill but leadership. You do not fight for glory, you fight for life itself." Eren lowered his hands. The blades disappeared. He felt a strange emptiness, as if a part of him had left with them. But the lessons remained. Protection was not just a reaction, it was a choice. And that choice defined the strength of a warrior. Then a sudden alert rang in the chamber. A holographic display lit up the walls. Alien worlds far beyond this planet showed signs of approaching forces. Ships larger than cities moved across the stars, advancing toward allied worlds. The elite warriors tensed. "This is no longer a simulation," one said. "The threat is real, and it approaches faster than we expected." Eren's heart raced. He had faced trials designed to test his intent and skill. Now he would face a threat that was very real, one that could destroy countless lives. But he did not panic. The 8 blades, though not present physically, still felt alive in his mind. They responded to his resolve. "We must act," another warrior said. "Human, you will lead. Your intent, your clarity, may be the difference between survival and destruction." Eren nodded. He did not fully understand what awaited him, but he knew this: he would protect life. He would not falter, and he would not allow fear to control him. The elite warriors prepared to deploy. Eren studied the holographic maps, analyzing the incoming forces. They were vast, technologically advanced, and heavily armed. But he noticed something others missed. The attackers relied on aggression and fear. They expected defenders to respond with equal force. But Eren did not intend to fight with fear. He intended to protect, guide, and inspire. The first wave of ships entered the system. Energy beams cut through the void of space, striking planets and defenses. Eren directed the elite warriors, showing them where to shield civilians, where to form barriers, and how to move in unison. The 8 blades, though unseen, moved with him in spirit, guiding each action. In the heat of the moment, Eren realized something important. Leadership was not about giving orders, it was about setting an example. The aliens around him followed because they saw his intent, his unwavering commitment to life. That was more powerful than any weapon. Hours passed as the battle continued. Eren guided defenses, protected civilians, and inspired the warriors to act with precision. Slowly, the enemy began to retreat, confused by the unexpected coordination and unity. They had not encountered a force that fought without hate or fear, only purpose. Finally, the immediate threat subsided. The alien worlds were safe for now. The elite warriors turned to Eren, a rare display of acknowledgement in their stoic faces. "You have passed the second trial," said the first warrior. "You fight not for yourself, not for glory, but for those who cannot fight. That is why the system chose you." Eren lowered his gaze, exhausted but calm. I don't understand fully," he admitted. "Why me? Why now?" "Because humanity is rare," the warrior said. "Not for strength, not for technology, but for the heart. You do not kill for pleasure. You protect because it is right. That is why you are the 8-bound human. That is why the blades respond to you." Eren felt a strange peace. The trials had been difficult, but he had learned more about himself than he ever thought possible. He understood that true strength came from intent, purpose, and courage to protect others, even in the face of overwhelming odds. But the war was not over. Far beyond the stars, the larger enemy forces were still moving, and Eren knew the final test would soon arrive. A test not of simulation, not of practice, but of reality. The part ends with Eren standing on the bridge of the alien war chamber, looking out at the stars. His heart was steady, His mind was clear, and he knew, deep down, that whatever came next, he would face it, not as a soldier seeking victory, but as a protector of life, ready to wield the power of the 8 blades. The stars stretched endlessly before Eren Holt as he stood on the bridge of the alien war chamber. The glow of distant suns reflected off the metallic walls. All around him, elite warriors of many species readied their weapons, yet the tension in the air was unlike anything Eren had ever felt. This was no simulation. This was real. A massive holographic display filled the chamber. It showed a fleet larger than any Eren had ever imagined. Ships the size of cities moved through space with precise, coordinated speed. Energy beams lit the void as the enemy advanced toward the outer colonies. Civilians would be lost if they failed. The first warrior, the one who had guided him through the trials, approached. "Human," it said, voice calm yet heavy, "you have proven yourself in the trials, but this is the true test. Will you fight for life when the cost may be your own?" Eren swallowed hard. He felt the weight of the responsibility pressing down on him, but he did not hesitate. "I will protect them," he said firmly, "no matter what it takes." The elite warriors nodded, some lowering their weapons slightly. "Then lead us," said the first warrior. "Show us the strength of intent." Eren looked at the 8 blades. They had not physically appeared yet, but he could feel them in his mind, ready to respond. They were an extension of him, responding not to orders or commands, but to his will to protect life. He closed his eyes briefly, centering himself. The fleet of defenders moved under his guidance. Ships adjusted formations, positioning to shield planets and civilian transport routes. Alien soldiers moved in unison, following the example set by Eren's calm focus. The enemy fleet attacked with overwhelming force. Energy beams tore through space, and explosions erupted on multiple planets simultaneously. But Eren's strategy was simple: protect, guide, and inspire. He did not aim to destroy for the sake of victory. He aimed to ensure life survived. The 8 blades appeared, luminous and humming with energy. They moved as extensions of Eren's thoughts. One formed a protective barrier around a civilian transport fleet. Another redirected an energy beam that had targeted a planetary city. Others formed shields around vulnerable positions, spinning and weaving with a precision no human, or alien, mind could achieve alone. The elite warriors watched in awe. Some of them had faced countless battles, countless enemies, but never had they seen a human fight in this way. Eren did not seek glory or domination. He moved with clarity, with intent, protecting those who could not defend themselves. As the battle raged, Eren noticed a small alien child running along the surface of a planet, directly in the path of a falling enemy strike. Without hesitation, he directed a blade to intercept the attack, deflecting it and creating a glowing path of safety for the child. He moved swiftly, guiding the elite soldiers to secure the area. One of the larger enemy ships broke through the outer defenses, firing massive energy beams at the planet below. Eren did not panic. He thought quickly, directing 2 blades to absorb the beam's energy and redirect it harmlessly into space. The civilians below were safe. Hours passed. The enemy pressed harder, but Eren's calm focus inspired the defenders. The elite warriors moved with him, their own tactics influenced by his intent. For the first time, they fought not because they were ordered to, but because they chose to protect life. Then the enemy fleet sent a massive boarding force toward the central command planet. Eren could see hundreds of ships descending, bristling with energy weapons. He realized that the fleet's main strength was fear. They expected defenders to fight for victory, not for life. Eren stepped forward, raising both hands. The 8 blades appeared fully, forming a circle around him, glowing with a bright blue light. He focused on the intent that had guided him from the start: protection, clarity, and courage. The enemy boarding force hit the outer defenses. Explosions shook the surface. But Eren's blades moved in perfect harmony, deflecting attacks, shielding soldiers, and creating safe paths for fleeing civilians. He did not aim to destroy, he aimed to protect and guide. The elite warriors followed his lead. They fought not with hate but with purpose. Their movements were coordinated, precise, and fluid. The enemy grew confused, unable to predict or exploit fear because the defenders fought with intent, not reaction. Eren's heart remained steady. He could feel the blades responding to him, extending farther than he expected. They shielded entire battalions, guided fleeing civilians, and neutralized attacks without unnecessary destruction. One of the enemy commanders, a massive creature with glowing red eyes, realized something. They are not afraid. They fight not for power but for life, it bellowed. Its forces faltered, unsure how to counter an army led by intent and purpose rather than aggression. Eren saw his opportunity. He did not charge to destroy. Instead, he moved strategically, guiding the defenders to create barriers, redirect energy attacks, and protect civilians. The enemy, frustrated and confused, began to retreat. Ships turned back, failing to overcome the unexpected unity and clarity of the defenders. The battle reached its peak as a massive energy wave threatened a planet's surface. Eren acted instinctively, raising all 8 blades in a wide arc. They glowed brighter than ever, absorbing the wave and dispersing it safely into space. Civilians cheered silently, their lives preserved. The elite warriors watched, understanding that the humans' power was not in strength, but in intent and courage. Finally, the enemy retreated fully. Their fleet moved away from the system, uncertain and shaken by the defenders' unity. The planets were safe. Civilians were alive, and Eren's blades vanished, leaving only his steady form in the center of the chamber. The first warrior stepped forward, bowing slightly. "You have done what no other being could," it said. "You have fought without hatred, without fear, without desire for glory. You have fought purely to protect life. Humanity is rare indeed." Eren lowered his gaze, exhausted but at peace. "I only did what I had to," he said. "I could not let anyone else be hurt, that is all." The warrior studied him. "That is what makes humans exceptional. Your species' strength is not just in technology or skill, it is in your heart. That is why you were chosen as the 8-bound human. That is why the blades responded to you." Eren felt a strange warmth in his chest. He thought of the child from his dream, the small trembling figure he had protected without knowing why. He understood now that it was not just a dream, it was a lesson, a vision of what true protection meant. The elite warriors stepped back, allowing him space. "You have shown us what it means to protect without seeking reward," said one. "From this day forward, humans are recognized as guardians by nature, not for conquest but for intent." Eren nodded quietly. He did not want titles or recognition. He wanted only what he had always wanted, that no child, no life would stand alone in danger again. The chamber doors opened. Outside, the stars were calm, the planet safe. Eren looked out, thinking of the countless lives he had helped save, not just in the simulation but in the real battle. He realized something profound. Strength without compassion is meaningless. But compassion, guided by clarity and courage, can move galaxies. A small voice spoke behind him. He turned to see the alien child from his dream, standing on a platform, eyes wide and shining. The child did not speak, but its smile was enough. Eren felt a sense of completion. He had kept the promise of his intent, and the universe had acknowledged it. The first warrior approached again. "You have passed every trial. The 8 blades are yours not as weapons, but as a reflection of your purpose. You are free to leave this chamber, but remember, the galaxy watches those who act with intent." Eren took a deep breath. He looked at the child one last time. "I will always protect those who cannot defend themselves," he said quietly. "That is my choice. That is what makes us human." The warrior inclined its head. "Then your path is clear, 8-bound human. Go, and may your intent guide others as it has guided us." Iren turned toward the exit. The elite warriors fell into formation behind him, not as captors but as allies. The child followed safely. Together, they stepped into the light of the stars, moving toward a galaxy that had just begun to understand the true power of humanity, not through force, but through courage, protection, and the choice to defend life. As the stars stretched endlessly ahead, Iren felt the 8 blades hum faintly in his mind, a reminder of the lessons he had learned, the lives he had saved, and the promise he had kept. The universe was vast and dangerous, but he was ready. Because being human meant more than strength. It meant heart, intent, and the courage to protect those who could not protect themselves. And with that, Iren Holt took the first step into a new chapter, one where humanity would be remembered, not for war, but for the unwavering choice to stand for life.